This video is sponsored by Popbase. Stick around until the end of the video to learn about a one-time chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. In 2005, Black Ops developers Treyarch found major success developing Spider-Man 2. Regarded as not only one of the best movie licenses ever conceived, but also one of the best open-world games in general. So 2 years later, with a track record of major success in the genre, Treyarch wanted to create their own original IP, not bound by licensing stipulations. So they pitched to Activision their concept for an all-new sandbox game, heavily influenced by Chinese martial arts movies and starring a female assassin based on Lucy Liu. That game was Black Lotus. However, while initially greenlighting the concept, Activision would later hate the notion of a female protagonist, demanded several major game-altering changes, removed Treyarch from the project entirely, shoving them off to make Call of Duty titles for the rest of eternity, then ultimately cancelling the title altogether. So, what on earth happened here? Did they really cancel a game because you played as a girl? And whatever became of this game? Well, if those blatantly clickbaity questions intrigued you, all I have to say is, but hello you, I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to a Fact Hunt special. That time Activision cancelled a game because it starred a woman. Now, it's quite easy to twist the narrative and slap Activision with the old misogyny brush for Black Lotus's cancellation, but this is the house of Bobby Kotick we're talking about here, and gender don't mean jack. Or Jill, to the big A if it doesn't bring in the moolah. In a 2010 interview with Gamasutra, two anonymous Treyarch employees stated, "We were all on board and then Activision killed it. Said they don't do female characters because they don't sell. And Activision gave us specific direction to lose the chick." Shocking claims aside, looking back to when Black Lotus was being pitched, Activision may have some validity to their decision. While it's easy to say there have been highly successful and profitable female video game characters, such as Lara Croft and Joanna Dark, the late noughties weren't exactly the best time for logarithmic ladies. Titles such as Bethesda's Wet, South Peak's Velvet Assassin and EA's Mirror's Edge had all been commercial and critical failures. In fact, 2 years prior to Treyarch's pitch, Blue 52's espionage action game, Stolen, performed so badly it bankrupted both the developer and its publisher, Hip Games. Did these games bomb because they starred women? Absolutely not. No. It's because they were marketed poorly and, well, they just weren't very good games in general. It's just easy to put two and two together thanks to the rather unfortunate coincidence that they all starred women. The other main reason is Activision are like Apple. They never try a new concept without someone else taking the risk first. For instance, Call of Duty would never exist without EA's success with Medal of Honor. Guitar Hero would never existed without Konami's Guitar Freak's arcade popularity. And even Activision themselves envisioned the Tony Hawk's games to be straight up racing, until Neversoft changed the concept to a skate park at the last minute, and they couldn't do anything about it. So, we're at the point that we now know that Activision cancelled Black Lotus as they didn't think games that had a female protagonist sold very well. What happened next? Well, Grand Theft Auto 4 happened. Its huge success made Activision realise they needed their own sandbox game as soon as possible to rake in this potential open-world goldmine. But having nothing in development, and also realising they had just cancelled one, they reopened the project. But taking Treyarch off the production to focus on Call of Duty titles and gave it to newcomer United Front Games, whose only previous game was a PS3 exclusive Mod Nation Racers. The first thing to go was, obviously, the female protagonist, turning her into an undercover male cop. Activision also didn't like gambling in all new IPs either, so suggested it be a sequel to one of their previous franchises that had laid dormant for a few years. True Crime. Yup, Black Lotus turned into True Crime Hong Kong. Now, True Crime Hong Kong is a much more famous cancelled game. However, Activision threw quite a bit of money into this iteration of the title, even hiring Hollywood voice talent including Lucy Liu, Gwen Stacy, Liu Kang, and the bloke out the Full Monty. However, in their fear to create a product that will compete with Grand Theft Auto 4, Activision started to give United Front Games completely unfair demands. Wanting the game to have the quality of Rockstar's hit, which had a budget of $100 million, but only offering a fraction of that in funding. So with constant delays of the game to meet Activision's impossible requirements, on the 9th of February 2011, during a press release announcing the cancellation of further Guitar Hero games, Activision also gave a rather vague response to True Crime Hong Kong's termination. Activision CEO Eric Hirschberg would later expand that the cancellation was because True Crime wasn't good enough in quality, while indirectly having a dig that it wasn't up to GTA 4 standards. So Activision cut their losses and sold True Crime Hong Kong to Square Enix, under the stipulation that the True Crime name wouldn't appear anywhere within the game, and was released 2 years later as Sleeping Dogs. Activision's neuroticism over the quality of the game was unfounded, as the game received scores of over 80% across all formats, and would even receive another release in 2014 as a definitive edition for next-gen systems. Though that might be more due to Square Enix taking a $67 million loss on the initial run. Amazingly, there was another game set in the Sleeping Dogs universe, though it was unclear on if it was meant to be a sequel or a spin-off, by the name of Triad Wars, a free-to-play online PC game that featured co-op and perpetually generated missions, a la Skyrim. Triad Wars had an online beta that ran for several months in 2015, but was ultimately cancelled in December, with United Front stating, "We loved seeing how you played Triad Wars, but we know it wasn't right for many of you." United Front Games were closed down on the 17th of October 2016. No reasons have ever been given for their closure. So, while it could have been seen as wrong Activision cancelling a game with a female protagonist from today's political climate, their decision was entirely financially motivated, with the nail in the coffin being their neurotic fear of competing quality rise with a much larger IP, but refusing to contend with a similar budget. It's just a shame Activision sticks to their regime and relying on other publishers to make mistakes, rather than take their own gambles. Ironically, for a video game publisher, the only thing they're good at playing is playing it safe. Hello you! Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time. Ta-ra for now!